Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now here's Jay.
Welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET 1490 AM, where we're going to contemplate retirement and how to best prepare for retirement and how to best stay happily and successfully retired. And we have great guests in the second half, and we'll be getting to that as soon as possible. But remember, www.drheckham.com or the Educated Retirement .com, theeducatedretirement.com. You can always email me, bestloantoday@gmail.com. Why? Because it is the best loan today. Or you can try this phone number at any time from anywhere. And that phone number, again, is, coming straight to me, 866-955-2233, 866-955-2233, and I usually tell some more things about the website and all that, but I'm going to skip that because we got a lot of superfluous and nostalgic information and UFOs to go to, and NASA Nelly is on her way from Mars right now. My day job is at the Loan Source, NMLS 384565, Department of Real Estate, license 792630. And today is National Cookie Day because that's close to my heart. And there is should I be chewing one, or is that going to get, no, I want one, but I think that'll get in the way of me talking. Not that, but who knows. In any case, it's also National Bartender Day, and just thought I'd bring out my own bartender apron from Houlihan's when I used to work there, and from where I met my wife some 40-some years ago. Anyway, also December is the bird feeding season beginning here. So start feeding your little ones. And we believe in challenging the status quo. Families and people need to be active, not reactive. And famous people's birthdays. But remember, drheckham.com, and call me at 866-955-2233. And today's birthday is Jeff Bridges' birthday. That's right. Jeff Bridges is the son of actor Lloyd Bridges and appeared with his brother Bo in that series. So he has also done, that is Jeff, over 75 films, including The Big Lebowski, which we have right there, of course. And I think everybody has seen that. And that's a Coen Brothers classic, and Jeff is still known as the Dude. Then there was also Tron, and I think you remember Tron. Even Sean might be, he might remember the original one. This is not the original. I do have the original, and this is the reboot, Tron Legacy. And, of course, they were in both of them. And some weird things about the music. The first one, music was done by Wendy Carlos. And the second one, and I have Wendy Carlos records back when she was both genders, but he and she. But one of my favorite groups did the music from the second one. Daft Punk. That's not the soundtrack from it, but that's a great album. Anyway, there's a lot to say about Daft Punk and what they did with music in general, but we'll have to let them wait. The Last Picture Show was his first big hit in 1975 and his first Academy Award nomination. Oh, you know what? I started talking about the Last Picture Show a little too soon. Here is a monorail all dressed up for Tron Legacy. Okay? Sure, why not? Last Picture Show. Again, if I can, I show the Laserdisc one because the pictures are bigger. So there. And, you know, whatever happened to the director? What's his name? But, yeah. I know. He's still around and he's other things. But that's the Last Picture Show. He also did the first remake of King Kong, which was, by the way, the first film ever for Jessica Lange. And he did The Fisher King, which is a Terry Gilliam film, and he's one of my favorite directors. And if not one of my favorite Monty Python people, but you know, that had many nominations and wins of all different kinds of things. Then there was the very strange and love it, The Men Who Stare at Goats. Remember, no goats, no glory. Did you see that, Sean, if you're there?
Yeah, I did.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
That was pretty interesting, yeah.
That really fascinates me, and if I had any extra time right now, I would be going. I think they you know, when class is on, they're still teaching classes at UCLA for remote viewing. And that was, of course, part of the story. Part of the story was true about the 1st Earth Battalion, who I think the No Goats, No Glory was added for the movie. But I'll tell you what actually comes from that was a saying is be all you can be. And that is still used by the Army today in their recruitment advertising. Be all you can be. And that comes from 1st Earth Battalion. Here's what the... I think you ought to be able to see that. The name escapes me right now. The colonel that was in charge of all of that. But anyway, let's get back to being all we can be, with or without goats. He was also in Against All Odds. Again, there's a... Nope, no picture in the back. Anyway, that was with... Rachel Ward, Jeff Bridges, and James Woods. I always liked that film. Still do. And I still, every time I'm on Sunset Boulevard, I think of the scene of Jeff and Jimmy Woods racing down Sunset. And I remember when that movie was out, I had a sports car and tried doing some of those things, but they never really happened. Here's a couple other things. Jeff was in here. Seabiscuit. Blown Away. You know, I can't tell you what I say, 75 films. How about Bad Times at the El Rey? Sean, were you able to see that?
No, I didn't get to see that one.
That one just came out not very long ago, a couple of years ago. I thought it was really entertaining, and I'm not sure how much play it did get, but it really should get more play. And Jeff is a big fan of Lee Marvin and Robert Ryan. I am also a big fan of Robert Ryan. I really enjoy Lee Marvin, even though everything I've read about him tells me he was usually drunk when he was acting, but it came out well, didn't it? And Jeff is also a photographer, and he has published 2 photography books. And he is my hero for another reason. He smokes 2 cigars every day. That's good. And who do I always get him confused with? Kurt Russell. I get Jeff and Russell mixed up all the time. I don't know if that happens to other people, but to me, they look alike. And here's a reminder that you are listening to the Educated Retirement Radio here on your home planet, 1490 KMET Radio, the mighty Met. And don't forget www.drheckham.com. That's drhecm.com, or give me a call, 866-955-2233. 866-955-2233. It's also Jimmy Hunt's birthday, 1939. We got a couple guys whose birthdays we're celebrating today that are still with us. That's a good thing. He is best known for his role in one of my favorite all-time 1950s science fiction movies. I hope that's not too shiny. Invaders from Mars. I got so many copies of this. I'm waiting for the 4K, but I know, good luck, right? So here's who Jimmy really looks like, or what he looked like then, okay? You might recognize that. And that's with him in one of the mutants. They called them mutants, just like they did in This Island Earth. But so be it. But with this film, this was really great because you could see the zippers up the costume, the back of the costumes. But he was also featured, Jimmy was, in over 23 other films. And Invaders was a 1953 sci-fi classic. And I mean, this was a classic. Directed by a guy named William Cameron Menzies, who I know, the name always rings a bell, and here's why to me. He also directed before this that H.G. Wells' classic Things to Come back in 1937, as well as others, including, he co-directed the Cecil B. DeMille Cleopatra, and he was also the art director for the Dolly dream sequence of Hitchcock's Spellbound. I wish we had that music, but I didn't think long in advance. Anyway, he also worked on such films as Rebecca, Foreign Correspondent, so he had a lot to do with Hitchcock and Hitchcock's success in those years. King's Row, which is one of my favorite all-time soundtracks. And all of this came from Mars. So Invaders also starred Morris Ankrum, who was also in, I don't have a picture of him? I thought I did. I know I did. Anyway, so be it. He was in Earth versus the Flying Saucers, Rocket Ship XM, The Giant Claw Boys. That got some funny special effects. Beginning of the End, Flight to Mars, From Earth to the Moon, Kronos, that we mentioned last week, Red Planet Mars, and Giant from the All Unknown, and the list goes on. We've got a couple of honorable mentions. Agnes Moorehead was born in 1900 and left us in 1974, and she has a history that's much too long, and we're going to wait for her real birthday, because I said this was on the 6th. These next two are tomorrow, are on the 6th. So we talked about her with Fallout City and Dick Powell. And of course, there's Wally Cox, 1924 to 18. I think that's supposed to be 1973 that and he came up a few times in the past in relation to his best friend, Marlon Brando, who once said that if Wally was a female, he, Marlon that is, would marry him. He was also in the TV movie called Night Stalker. That was a sequel to The Night Strangler. And here's both of them. And until we looked up, until I started looking this stuff up, I always thought those were movies that came after the series. But they both led to the Kolchak series, The Night Stalker, which I love. And, I don't know why it only lasted one season. I think it should have gone on well more than that. But both movies were written by Richard Matheson, and we've spoken about him many, many times before in relation to The Twilight Zone and other films such as Somewhere in Time. Kolchak, of course, This is the series. What I showed you before were those movies. And this has like 3 discs and I think 4 or so thingies on each side. And boy, I am reminding you, you're listening to The Educated Retirement here on KMET AM Radio, the Mighty Matt. Call me, 866-955-2233. And do you really know what will happen to home prices after the COVID? Or let me remind you something. I often remind people that you can always make payments on a reverse mortgage. I do. But as my old buddy Martin Andelman once said, you can put the loan in forward and make any payment you want, and at any time, I may add. You can put it in neutral and make interest-only payments. Loan balance from ever moving and is most likely a lesser payment than you have right now. Or you can put it in reverse and make no payments at all unless you want to. And as another really good friend of mine once said, I think it was as long as Tuesday and Friday. Anyway, this is Omar, who owns another very, very successful reverse mortgage company. It is highly revered, NCAR, and what he said was the HECM is just an ordinary loan that you are already familiar with. This is what he tells clients, except it has a reverse option to it, and I think that's brilliant. You know what I mean? I do. So hats off to these guys on all of that. Now, I do have NASA Nellie here, who just landed. That's right. She uses the very latest in transportation, and she's going to talk to us about Kecksburg, and I'll show you a few pictures, the Kecksburg incident. Take it away, NASA.
Roswell, New Mexico had its crash. Phoenix had its lights, but on December 9th, 1965, in the woods of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, a bizarre occurrence was about to take place that would make one of the most famous UFO happenings of all time, along with the usual military involvement and attempts to cover up the Kecksburg UFO incident. It was early evening when a bright blue, smoky fireball streaked across the sky and was seen by thousands in 6 states. It crashed, or as some say, it landed in the woods in Kecksburg, only 30 miles from Pittsburgh. That alone was not as outrageous as the immediate presence of the U.S. Army and state police, followed by engineers and scientists. The testimony of several local witnesses in Stan Gordon's film, UFO Crash Kecksburg, The Untold Story, spoke of descriptions of the event. The local radio station was flooded with calls, including the Pentagon. Larry Snyder said, armed military appeared and said the object was a meteor. Lillian Hayes said the military chose their home as a command post, using their telephone and forming small groups meeting in their backyard. Even members of NASA showed up. Mr. Billy Bush managed to see the object and said it was a burnt orange, copper-like color with surrounding vapor of blue flames and sparklers, and looked like it landed, not crashed. James Maneski, a volunteer fireman, said that he and his team saw the object and it had no seams, rivets, or windows, but had a bumper of hieroglyphics-type images engraved in the metal. Jerry Bitters said he saw the craft in an Army's flatbed truck and said it was the size of a Volkswagen and bell-shaped. The list goes on and on. Was it a ship from outer space or a military experiment gone wrong? Was it a NASA craft returning to Earth from the past like a time machine, or was it a Russian satellite? Not surprising that all the original military records regarding this investigation were mysteriously lost and so far never recovered, but not altogether forgotten.
And just before we sign off for our break here, there is a huge story about what is called the Nazi bell, which was supposed to be a time and space traveling device with, I think, red mercury spinning in opposite directions. But I think that takes a whole nother part of a show, and a special one at that. So please do not go away. We're going to be right back with a couple of great guests that have to do with and are involved with caregiving. So please hang loose. Stay here. See you in a minute.
You